Welcome to the Never Ending Backlog podcast, your place for short reviews from a gamer with the goal of reducing his backlog. From adventures to sandboxes, join our host as we walk through a collection of unplayed treasures. Now, let's take a look at the featured game of this episode of the Never Ending Backlog.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to the next episode of the Never Ending Backlog podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and for today's bite-sized PC game review, we will be reviewing the top-view action-adventure game Hack and Slash, made by Double Fine, creators of Psychonauts, Gang Beasts, and a ton of remastered games such as Grim Fandango, Full Throttle, etc. So they're pretty well known in PC gaming, so Hack and Slash I kind of expected a lot. I did not expect what I actually got, but we'll jump into that shortly. First and foremost, the game forced 5760 by 1080 resolution, but it cut off the menus, and I kind of started having a flashback to AI invasion, as I had mentioned earlier. However, pushing Alt-Enter in combo allowed it to be played in windowed mode, which worked phenomenally. So props on them for that one. Works great. Please allow, and this goes into my next tangent. I'm looking at some notes here real quick, and it kind of jumps around a little bit. When I started up the game, I really didn't know what to expect. The screenshots looked like Zelda. Okay, I'm not a huge Zelda fan, but you know, I understand why people like it. There are some types of top view games along those lines that I do like. Hammer Watch is one that I thoroughly enjoyed. So, you know, I'm giving this game a benefit of the doubt. When you have a text entry, so if you're asking for someone's name, a name of a farm, a name of your pet, a name of your love interest, a friend, doesn't matter what. If it's on a computer, please allow me to use my keyboard, especially if I use my keyboard throughout the game. Please don't make me push the up and down arrows for every single letter independently like an old school arcade. Or if you do, just show the entire keyboard on the screen and allow me to pick like Pokemon does, a game for the original Game Boy. Do not force me to do the arcade style up and down letter functionality. It is frustrating. It's a headache. It's just that little thing that you don't need to do. Just don't do it, please. So that was kind of frustrating. The game started off in Act 2. I know that's a joke. I don't know where Act 1 was. I certainly didn't play it. At least I don't think I did. So that was kind of odd. It is definitely like a Zelda kind of Tron remix. Not really Tron, I guess. I don't know. That's a wrong setting. It's a really unique game. And first and foremost, it is very similar to Zelda. However, it's an adventure-based game, and it is very much a play on the words of hack, because you're hacking the game. You're changing settings and different items by hitting them with your sword, which eventually breaks very quickly in the game. This is not going to be a huge spoiler, but your sword breaks and it turns into a giant USB stick that allows you to hack items and enemies and all these other things. Originally, I was like, okay, this is a neat idea. It's kind of frustrating. Not a huge super fan of it. I thought it was more of an indie game before I realized it was Double Fine. So I really wasn't expecting a lot. And I kind of went into this with a bad mood. And I really, shame on me for this one. Because it's really fun. Just saying it right now. It's a really fun game. It has a very catchy soundtrack. It's kind of a techno adventure R&B kind of thing. I kind of expected Eminem to just start dropping raps in the middle of the music because it is very similar to along those lines. It's really cool. Graphics are actually really smooth. They're actually really, really well done. The animations are the movements are really nice. It's a very indie style animation, but it's not just like, these pixels are moving here and here. It's really nice. No, it's actually really well done. It's very artistic and very flowing movement. So props to them on that one. It is very well done. The sword, like I said, became a USB. And you basically, when you hit an item, whether it's like maybe you're pushing a rock or maybe you're attacking a creature, you change the way they behave as if you were actually coding the game at the time. So, for instance, you have to push a rock, and all the items in the game that you can interact with, they have a little USB port icon, just like you'd find on your computer, and then you attack it with your sword, and voila, it opens up this little menu where you can push arrows and adjust different settings. So anyway, I was pushing a rock, and it was lined up with other rocks, and I had to basically move it past that so I could walk past it. So you can hit it, and then you can say, okay, well, I want to move it 5 spaces. Doesn't really matter. You can change all these settings to whatever you really want. 5 spaces. And I want it to move, maybe I want to be able to push it 1 time, and yes, I want it to move. Yeah. Then you just get out of the menu, and then you attack it again, or you push it, and then it just moves 5 spaces, rather than maybe just the singular one like another game would do. So it's a neat thought process, actually. And, overall, I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, it's kind of neat. It's kind of a cool way of doing this. All right, that makes sense. It does seem to teach. It seems a lot like a tech demo, actually. It seems like you learn how to hack or kind of program in some ways. I'm not sure how this actually correlates with actual programming as much. A lot of my programming is very basic. I mean, I've just started learning Unity in a game development course by Udemy. So no way am I a developer, a software engineer, programmer, game developer, hacker. Nope, none of those things. Don't know if it's relatable. Don't know if this is actually how some things do operate, or maybe they're called certain things. Like if I jump into code, were they actually called this? Don't know. Probably not exactly, but it is kind of a neat idea to show how this type of stuff works, which I think is neat. It's like I said, it does seem like a tech demo. This game suffers from a major lack of tutorials or explanation, though. Like, it's terrible. You have like this little creature that follows you around and makes funny jokes. I guess you could say funny jokes. And they don't really explain stuff. They're more confused, I think, than you are sometimes in real life. Where there's like, what does that do? What am I doing? How does this work? And it's like, you're a terrible guide. You are not helping me at all. I wish I could hit you with the USB, change your settings so that way it says, yes, you are going to help me with this game. So that way I'm not wandering around super confused, because it was a little bit of a frustrating experience. It definitely does go deep into code logic. So if you read the reviews, they all pretty much say the exact same thing. First 2 levels, nice. Then it goes to incredible code developer programming where it's just like, what is going on here? So it just goes to this immediate, like, oh, you learned a little bit? Now write the entire game in code. And a lot of reviews have said that. I certainly see that. It seems very easy to begin with, and then it just ramps up difficulty to full 100%, and you can do insane things with programming. So, I mean, overall, it's actually a pretty funny thing, and I'm just going to kind of touch base on this real quick. So, I hear about the rock where I put you around spaces. There was a bird, a raven, I think is what they call it. I hit it with, normally it hits you and you lose 1 health every time it hits you. And it just keeps flying and hitting you. Think of the birds in Earthworm Jim, where they fly, hit you, spin away, fly, 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 until you're eventually dead. This raven would act in the same instance, flies across the screen and just keeps hitting you until you die. However, if you hit it with your USB sword, you can then change some of the stuff. Like, oh, instead of taking 1 life from you, it takes 5 lives from you. Okay, sure. Why would you want to do that? But you could do it. You might want to. I don't know. Other things you can do. Do you want to change it to be friendly or angry? By default, it's angry because it's attacking you. So you can change it to friendly and just kind of hang around. Doesn't really do anything. All right. Other things you can do, though. So when I said you could take, have it deal 5 damage to you, you could turn it into the opposite direction. So then instead, it gives you 5 life every time it hits you. So you're constantly having a bird fly around you, which is a little obnoxious, just giving you life as you go about that world. Now, when you go into a new section of a map, the enemies no longer follow you. So it's not like it follows you the entire game, because that'd just be awesome. And you have to watch out, obviously, because if there's another bird, you have to hit that bird, but you already have your bird giving you health, so it's hitting you. So you might hit the wrong one by accident, reprogram it to be evil. There's a lot of things that could go wrong here. But it's a funny thought process. I could actually make an enemy heal me throughout the entire game. So it's funny. I think it's pretty cool, actually. It's a neat thought process. And it really does kind of, relate that message of you can do anything you want to do in this game as long as you kind of figured out how to do it. As long as you figured out how to program this type of stuff, you can do some crazy stuff. On the note, when I was writing this review, the graphics animation is very similar to like an old school PBS, not even old school, like a PBS cartoon. Kind of like one of those, like math cartoons, like math and education, Space Invader kind of a cartoon. Not like Arthur or Wishbone or anything like that. Like it reminds you like one of those kind of kitty sci-fi adventure PBS cartoons. And that's not a bad thing by any means. It actually holds up pretty well. It's actually a pretty thought process. And this does feel kind of along the lines of an educational game, teaching you the basics of how code interacts with the environment around you and how you can kind of change and manipulate it to fit what you need it to do. So I would say, historical best of this game is 99 cents. The current best is $13.37. I'd probably pay around $5 for it if it was out now. It seemed interesting enough. It does ramp up difficulty. If you are a developer, you'll probably enjoy this game, unless you do it for work and you might not want to work anymore. And that seems terrible, I guess. But it is a cool game, absolutely, and it is one of those things where pretty much anybody can play as long as you can read. I suppose you can play it, so it could be for younger people. I didn't see anything too inappropriate. It might get more inappropriate, I guess, but I don't think it does. Probably it seems kind of lighthearted and easy to digest. It's just a struggle. It's a challenging puzzle type top view Zelda game. Just instead of just attacking slimes and creatures, you're using code to manipulate the environment. So pretty neat in the end. I don't think I'll keep it installed. I played it for a little bit. I feel like I got my value out of it. Like I said, Zelda and those type of games are usually not for me. I either like the RPG top views or I like, RTSs or first-person shooters. It jumps between those categories more so. And it really takes a lot. Like Hammerwatch, I thoroughly enjoyed because I enjoyed the multiplayer aspect of it. And hack and slash is not multiplayer. At least nothing that I've found yet, and I'm pretty sure it's not. So, overall, really cool game. Props to Double Fine for trying to do this. I think it's neat. There hasn't been many games out there that do this. In fact, I don't think I know any of them that are quite to this level. This seems very much developer-ish. But yeah, overall, fun game. Won't keep it installed. If you're into programming, developing, game development, or you enjoy puzzles and solving type of stuff, I think this game is for you. I don't know if I'd pay $13.37. I'd probably try to find a better deal out there. I know without a doubt I probably got this either in an Indie Gala or a Humble Bundle. Probably Indie Gala, to be honest. Or I guess it might have been a Double Fine collection, since I do have... Actually, it was definitely a Humble Bundle collection, because I have Grim Fandango, Full Throttle, etc., which will be in upcoming episodes of the Never Ending Backlog podcast. So anyway, thank you for joining us on this episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on our next episode.